Many thanks for choosing us. Let's begin with Benso, where one person is reported dead after some Galamsey operators allegedly set ablaze vehicles and other mining equipment belonging to Golden Star Resources mines at Benso. Some of the workers were reported to have had to run for their lives, with others sustaining injuries. In the process, properties worth millions of Ghana cedis have been destroyed in the last attack. Gerald Boache is the head of corporate affairs and communications at the Golden Star Resources.
Sessions from Galamsey and Galamsey operators, or whatever you call them, illegal miners. And we usually, because we are not armed, we usually do this through engagement. So we engage them, talk to them, and then we escort them peacefully off our sites. On this occasion, the same thing happened, but obviously they, seeing that they probably have their booty there, amassed some more people and came back. In the process, the police that are stationed at our site assisted us to ward them off. But I mean, this did not stop them. So they obviously came back with more people, more illegal miners. And then that's when they started to touch property, ambulances, our offices, as you can see in the video. And luckily, the first thing that we take into consideration under such circumstances is life. So we moved our staff and our workers off to safety, and they continue to have a field day at our operation. But as I speak, the police, thankfully, from Takwa came and they've sort of brought calm to the site, and they're doing the investigations, and we'll know what exactly happened pretty soon.
The police in that area have since issued a statement regarding the incident and how they are dealing with them. I would share extracts of that statement with you, and it will be coming on the screen shortly. We'll be sharing the statement with you shortly, but on the screens you have visuals of what transpired at that the Golden Star mine. So here the police says they have restored law, order, and security at Golden Star Resources, a mining site at Wassa Benso in the Western region, following disturbances between some members of the community and the mining company. Now, it goes ahead to say that the incident is reported to have resulted in 1 death, injury to 4 others, and damage to some property belonging to the company. The police notes that they have since beefed up security in Wassa Benso. Now, according to the police, they have also reached out to some opinion leaders of the community, as well as the vice president and managing director of the Golden Star Resources, all as part of police effort to maintain peace within the community. The police is urging all parties to remain calm as the police investigates the incident and bring any person found culpable to face justice. Back to Accra, and in Parliament, Minority Chief Whip and Ranking Member on the Roads and Transport Committee, Governs Agboja, says President Akufo-Addo peddled falsehood when he claimed his government had built most roads in the Fourth Republic. This claim of the president has become the main issue as MPs debate his address. Debating the address, the Adaklo MP also stated that this government has constructed only a single interchange.
Then he came here this year and said he has built 11,000 kilometers of roads. He didn't qualify it. In fact, in 2022, he said his record is unmatched since independence. This year, he said his record is unmatched since Fourth Republic. The president is even unsure of the benchmark of his record. Mr. Speaker, I want to do some fact-checking about what he said. Mr. Speaker, the document the President laid or spoke about is not factual. Mr. Speaker, I repeat, the President did not construct over 11,000 kilometers of road, as he said. Mr. Speaker, the record of the NDC in 2016 is still unmatched by the MPP. Speaker, the only interchange currently that can be attributed to the MPP is the Tamale interchange. You can give it to them. It's the only Tamale interchange. You have actually no record of any interchange started and completed. Let him know that if you are a road minister, you have to call for a bipartisan committee to investigate roads that are physical for everybody to see. It means you haven't done any work. Because if you shift the road, we'll see the roads and work.
We're going to Parliament for more when we get our correspondent Kwekwa Sante on the line. But Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin is urging Parliament to stand up against what he describes as executive manipulation by demanding a review of the 1992 Constitution to stop the President from appointing ministers from Parliament. Article 78 of the Constitution places an obligation on the President to appoint more than 50% of ministers from Parliament in the formation of a government. But Alexander Afenyo-Markin believes the provision is responsible for the perceived weaknesses in Parliament and must be addressed. He was speaking at the Gimpa Law Week event.
I hold a view, in all humility, that this provision that requires a majority of ministers of state shall be appointed from among members of Parliament should be looked at the second time. This provision, among other things, unnecessarily encourages executive intrusion into Parliament. It makes it almost impossible for MPs who become ministers to criticize policies and actions of government in which they serve as ministers. Also, it encourages non-minister MPs from critiquing the government of the day out of the fear that they might be overlooked during the subsequent nomination of ministers of state if they dare to be critical of the government of the day. I took a position from day one that I want to be in Parliament and do parliamentary business. So I recall that 2017, when many colleagues were all over lobbying, they asked me, Afenyo, are you not interested? I said, no, I don't want to be a minister. Neither do I want to be a deputy minister. I want to remain in Parliament, chair a committee or vice chair a committee or be in leadership. And I maintain that. I remember when we got the opportunity again in 2020, we came into 2021, the region had a problem with me. I didn't cry on one person minister. I said, no, I want to remain in Parliament. So eventually we settled on the position I occupy today. Because I believe that I need to build capacity. That the work of an MP is not about combining ministerial job and again saying that you're a member of Parliament. You can't do it all. And I hold a view that if we critically look at this, it will help MPs to assert themselves. A member of Parliament should assert himself. You should have what it takes to demonstrate that you are indeed representing the people.
We can go back to Parliament and speak with my colleague Kwekwa Sante, who is monitoring events there for us. Kweku, debates are supposed to wrap up today on the President's State of the Nation address. What are we to expect?
So any moment from now, the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, who has been chairing this whole week, will get into his chair. We expect that Dr. Kisela Tuforsen, or say Chairman Sabos, will be concluding the debate as has been happening the whole week in terms of the State of the Nation address. The Minority Leader, as we have been told, will be seeking to coalesce the views that have been shared by his MPs on the address that the President delivered. Dr. Tuforsen, knowing very well his current role as a ranking member on the Finance Committee, we are told, will focus mainly on the economy and seek to distinguish some of the claims that were made by President Akufo-Addo in his address. We know that the president admitted that the country was in crisis, but said that his government was on top of the issues and was just about to take Ghana out of the doldrums. Indeed, Dr. Atsu will be going ahead to make some points about how the current IMF deal will delay longer than usual. The expectation of government had been that by the end of this month or somewhere around this period, government would have gotten the deal with the IMF in terms of the board level agreement. Today is 17th. We do not know anything yet as to whether or not government will get that any moment from now. But also next week, a lot of business having to do with some bills of finance that will have to come back. So Atufose will be making a point generally about why he thinks that government do not deserve those revenue measures. On the other hand, Osei Chairman Sabonsu will also be putting together the views that have been shared by his colleagues on the majority side, particularly on the road sector. The president made a bold declaration there that his government has constructed most roads in this Fourth Republic. And we've heard from the roads minister himself, who says if Parliament is so minded, they can constitute a committee to look into those claims that were made by the president, and they will find out to be true. And so we'll be hearing from the majority leader in terms of what government has been able to do within this period. That gives them that idea that President Akufo-Addo has constructed more roads in the Fourth Republic than any other president.
What else are we expected? Should we expect in Parliament? What other business are they conducting?
So currently, the leadership of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, is meeting the Mines and Energy Committee. They have concerns about a legislative instrument that is seeking to ban imported and used electrical materials into the country. They say they are opposed to that, and they are meeting the committee to try and fashion out some modalities in terms of what they will be able to do to push aside that ally. We're expecting that the committee will listen to their concerns, put together a report, and put that before Parliament.
Gwegwa Sante is our parliamentary correspondent. More from Parliament in our subsequent bulletins, definitely when we get news from there. But still in Parliament, ranking member on Parliament's Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, Bernard Ahiafo, is accusing government of seeking to collapse GETFund. On Thursday, Nooks and Africa Education Watch petitioned Parliament calling for an urgent uncapping of the fund, which was being starved of resources. Speaking to journalists, Bernard Ahiafo backs the calls of the two groups.
Several attempts made to ensure that the full amount of VAT paid by Ghanaians to be released to the GETFund for financing education in this country proved no avail. In the 2023 budget, for instance, if we look at page 190, it is stated clearly that the projected revenue for the 2.5% VAT meant for GETFund is 4.65 billion. Now, if you go to page 191, it is stated there, expenditure items, it is only 1.8 billion out of the 4.65 that will be released to GETFund. It calls for worry. We realize that when they introduced the earmark and the realignment act, the capping has now been pegged at 17.5%. Now, if you look at the extenuating circumstances, GETFund is not able to support the Student Loan Trust Fund. GETFund is not able to support the Scholarship Secretariat. There are a lot of uncompleted GETFund projects in terms of the school infrastructure from the basic schools to tertiary level. GETFund is owing contractors huge amount of money. Now, out of even the small amount that is supposed to be released to GETFund, government is in arrears of huge amount of money to GETFund. Now, when the situation continues like this, for me, this current government intends to collapse GETFund.
The MP says Parliament will do everything within its power to ensure that GETFund gets all the resources collected through the GETFund levy.
We have taken quick steps to decap GETFund. So the private members bill is before Parliament for consideration. Now, if the government will listen to us as a minority, the government will have to ensure that whatever amount that represents the 2.5% VAT that Ghanaians has agreed to pay towards GETFund to support education in Ghana, the full amount must be given. Because you see, Ghanaians agreed to pay that component of the VAT to support education in Ghana. So what is the reason for which you will receive this money and you will not give the support of education in Ghana? It means that you are not complying with what you told the Ghanaians you will use the money for. I personally do not like a situation where Ghanaians will be informed that the 2.5% component that you are paying will go to health. Another 2.5 will go to GETFund. The monies will be collected from the Ghanaians and will not be used for the intended purpose. I don't think that is the best way we should run this particular country. So, in short, we'll do everything possible to ensure that whatever that is supposed to be released to GETFund is released to GETFund, so that the fund does not collapse.
Information available to JoyNews indicates that if the International Financial Reporting Standards IFRS 9 is applied in a stricter sense, 9 Ghanaian banks could be insolvent from the impact of the domestic debt exchange on their operations. However, 6 banks may not experience any capital losses, while 8 banks may experience mild capital losses. According to a paper presented by banking consultant Dr. Ibrahim and KB Frimpong, the impact of a domestic debt exchange on 23 banks' balance sheets and the ability to provide credit to the economy could be significant, as the banks are holding about 37% of government securities. These losses could be due to a combination of coupon or interest rate reduction and maturity extension with below market coupon rates. My colleague Isaac Kofi J, he's with our research desk. He joins us with details of this report. Kofi, what are the details of this report?
Well, Aisha, just like you read, so the report actually analyzed 23 banks, and out of the analysis, they came out that about 9 of these banks could suffer, capital losses as a result of the ongoing domestic debt exchange program. And so if you look at 8 of the banks, they believe that these 8 banks have the cushion, and they may not be able to, they may suffer at least some mild capital losses, but we have about 6 of the banks that will probably go free as a result of this domestic debt exchange program. But we know that before this whole debt exchange program, we have about 34 banks. But as a result of the banking sector cleanup that was done in 2017, it was reduced from 34 to 23. And so the country hasn't really recovered from the banking sector crisis cleanup that was done, where we spent about 25 billion Ghana cedis to do that sort of cleanup. And about 4 or 5 years later, here we are again doing a domestic debt exchange program, which the report believes that the 23 banks that were analyzed, about 9 of them could suffer severe capital losses. And if you look at the recommendations they gave, they are saying that Bank of Ghana must come in, or the government must put in place measures to mitigate this forecast. If you look at the memorandum of an understanding, the Bank of Ghana actually is expecting this. So they've actually put in place some measures to make sure that they do recapitalization of some of the banks. And the report also says that of the 6 banks that could go free as a result of the debt restructuring is because they have the muscle to work through. By 9 of these banks could suffer capital losses.
Did they indicate what kind of measures Bank of Ghana should put in place to be able to mitigate the effect of this?
Well, not very specific, but the recapitalization plan should be one thing that Bank of Ghana should be looking at. If you look at the 23 banks or the debt restructuring that we did, we wanted to restructure about 137 billion Ghana cedis. We ended up restructuring 97. And per the analysis done by the, Dr. Atsu, you could see that most of the institutions that participated in this domestic debt exchange program were the banks, and followed by, firms and other institutions, individual bondholders and retailers about, 13%. So majority of the 85% success rate we saw for the DDEP was because most of the banks decided to participate. Now, mind you that the average, coupon rate was around 19.5% before the restructuring started, where government is now proposing on average about 9% coupon rate. So it means they are going to suffer a haircut of, a direct haircut of about, 10%, followed by the extension of the maturity period, where on average it was around 5. But this new debt exchange program will look at 15 years. So these are some of the reasons why, the reports believe that the 9 banks that were mentioned, or the 9 banks could suffer, financial losses. And also, if you do some, analysis, if you take, let's say, Bank A with, a bond principal of about 5 billion cedis, expecting a principal value of 23 billion. As a result of this restructuring, if nothing is done, the report is saying that such a bank will lose about 4 billion Ghana cedis as a result of the domestic debt exchange program.
Kofi J is with our research desk, but the question is, can government secure an IMF deal by end of March? Let's listen to economist Hugh Champon Yao Apialati, who's partner at Deloitte, and Mike Copeland, who's CEO of Synergy Ghana. They believe it will be difficult to cross the hurdle for government.
I've seen other analysts. I've been reading the economic intelligence report and all, and they put it mid-2023. So it is easier to say by mid-2023, that is June 2023, wow, you will achieve, because it's overly ambitious to say the first quarter of the year, particularly when you have some other revenue measures that you have to put in place to secure a program. And the parliament that we have is not the parliament that we had when we went for other IMF programs.
2 programs.
You could actually pass a lot of these policies and programs, get them approved under certificates of agency. Now you can't do that. And so for us to start thinking, the first quarter of the year is almost over, so we should look at the second quarter of the year and then probably accelerate it a bit, and by the end of May, reach some level of agreement. And by the middle of this year, we know that we are moving into an IMF program. We have everything set out.
According to some of the data information and the assessment we're privy to, I think it's probably where you're talking May, thereabouts, in a best case scenario. And I'm actually on record as having said this. The reason is that, it's one thing restructuring your domestic debt, which is covered under your local law, and it's another thing with external debt restructuring. In this particular case here, there are 4 big players in the equation, each with different interests that we need to take into account. And the complexity really is that trying to coordinate those interests within the timeframes that the Ghanaian government is talking about is extremely tight one. So I think that the 31st, March deadline most likely would not be met, and it's going to go a couple of months down the line.
Looking at the various stakeholders involved, this is not, looking at the end of March will be more than a miracle. We need more than a miracle for that to happen. So realistically, I think investors, everybody is looking towards the mid of the year. And, in the investment community, uncertainty is something that you want to avoid. And so it's better for us to have the same kind of voice and be very realistic about the projections that we are making.
Away from the IMF, the World Health Organization is calling for the immediate targeting of babies yet to receive vaccines to stem the spread of measles in parts of the country. Parts of the country has been hit by an outbreak following weeks of shortage of the critical vaccines. Deputy Director General Dr. Atsu, who has been speaking exclusively to my colleague Blessed Soga, says the WHO is concerned about measles outbreak in parts of Ghana. He also reveals that Ghana has been placed on the list of countries that will receive further funding from the Vaccine Alliance platform, Gavi.
During the pandemic is that many of the companies that produced vaccines had to shift some of their production lines for routine immunization towards production for COVID vaccine. And that has, let's say, from 2021, let's say, when the vaccine was started to be manufactured, has of course shifted, let's say, the global availability of some of the vaccines. Of course, we are coming out of that situation now, and so it is important that countries reinvest in accelerating the immunization towards immunization coverage. WHO has been working, and I think around 20 countries have been identified as priority countries to look at bringing immunization coverage back up to where we were before the pandemic. And this, of course, links very much to what I highlighted around the increased number of children from 19 to 25 million by 2020 that didn't have either a single or not all of their doses of immunization. So I know that the Ministry of Health in Ghana has made arrangements, and I think vaccines are coming into the country to allow to recapture, let's say, some of the losses in immunization coverage.
And for instance, some of the multilateral platforms available to us that are supposed to extend help to us through, for instance, Gavi. In the context of Ghana, for instance, we understand that that help will no longer be available for us in the coming years through the grants and support schemes that we get. So how do we approach some of these issues? Because the potential that it may affect the universal health coverage will definitely come up.
So I think in relation to Gavi, there has been an extension for Ghana to still benefit from the support from Gavi. And what Gavi, of course, provides is that it has ensured that vaccines are available at a much lower cost for low-income countries in order for them to be able to introduce it. And this is a huge advancement in equity, I think.
The full interview is on Foreign Affairs on the JoyNews channel today. Now, the Pediatric Society of Ghana is pushing for international health agencies to assist in tracking cases of the outbreak as the Ghana Health Service conducts its revaccination of babies who have missed their jabs. Dr. Adabia Pia is outgoing president of the group.
There was an initial outbreak which was reported from the northern region, but we know that it was not only the northern region. We're having some cases, but the problem in other regions like Ashanti, and then now we've also mentioned the Volta region from, I think, the last few days, is the fact that we are unable, message news from our colleagues from the field is that we are just unable to confirm most of these cases. And this is where there's another challenge. In fact, it's important that we confirm these cases. The other thing is that with the outbreaks, we are going to continue to see these outbreaks. And we have also, in the statements that Pediatric Society have issued, we have appealed to government and also our developmental partners to support us with diagnostic equipment, help us track and trace the cases so that we can identify them early, institute infection prevention measures both at home and then also in hospitals, just like we did with COVID, to be able to arrest the situation and also care for those who are at risk.
And I must state that that conversation with the Deputy DG of the World Health Organization, there's another leg to that conversation which we haven't put out yet. The portion about the calls for a targeted immunization for persons who may have missed that window at the time we're experiencing the shortage. The advocacy from the World Health Organization is that we go back to carry out that exercise and to protect that population. How do we approach that? Because that must be a difficult task.
Yeah, I guess Ghana has done well. Let's take a step back and look at what we have done. Vaccination immunization program. In fact, the managers of our immunization program, they have really been excellent. They have done pretty good. But for the fact that we did not have the vaccines in the system, we will not be sitting here having problems. They have done catch-up, if I can use that terminology, programs before, like immunization days where government put resources into it and then provide vaccine, and then across the country, we go to homes to vaccinate and then all areas to find kids and vaccinate them. These are things that we have done it before, and then I know the EPI program is excellent. I mean, we are doing excellent. So once this has come up, and they have also, Ghana Health Service actually have highlighted the fact that they are going to do this. So we Pediatric Society have the assurance, I mean, we have faith in the system, and that once we provide the resources needed for this to be done, we know that the catch-up, we are going to catch up. It will take a little bit of time. We need to understand that we need to provide them with all the support that they need to go out and then do this. And as you can see from your own news items that you carried since the past few days when the vaccines came in, the public health nurses are available. They are ready to do. They are all excited. Families are also excited hearing that the vaccines are in, thanking God for the vaccines being present in the country. So,
away from that, despite efforts towards achieving equity and representation for women in the media industry, challenges such as unequal pay, sexual harassment, lack of recognition, and limited opportunities for career advancement persist. In light of this, Executive Director of Women, Media and Change, Dr. Charity Binka, is recommending that the National Media Commission urgently develops gender and sexual harassment policies to promote the interests of women in media practice.
For Women in Media Africa focused on promoting equity for women in the media industry as part of the International Women's Day celebration. Speaking at the event, the Executive Director of WOMEC, Dr. Charity Binta, highlighted the significance of creating safe spaces for women in the media industry to raise issues relating to harassment and discrimination.
When we are talking about equity in the media, it is not just a demand that we are making. Ghana, we have just celebrated our 66 years after independence. And we said we were the first south of the Sahara to gain independence. We are gender champions, we are everything. Should we be asking for equity in the newsroom 66 years on? It's amazing. Because of the absence of the policies, women continue to be objectified, stereotyped, and reduced to sexual character. And I'm also saying that the National Media Commission has a responsibility to make it mandatory for all media houses, whether private or public, to have gender policies and sexual, at least even they can't push the gender policy, at least they should push in fact, the two of them must be pushed, and they have the power to do so. So I'm appealing to them that they must do so. It's time for them to be seen to be pushing the gender agenda.
Founder of Alma, Shamima Muslim, emphasized that the initial steps towards addressing equity issues in the media is to acknowledge that such problems exist.
We must accept that there are challenges, and we must also be willing to confront the challenges. Like I said, it's only action that will change things. We cannot continue to lament without doing nothing about the problem. So one, let's accept that there are challenges. Two, let us mobilize ourselves as women in media. Let us invite our male allies and our male counterparts to appreciate the peculiar challenges and what is really burdening our hearts, even as we want to pursue a media career.
We're still live on Joy News today. We take a break. When we return, it's business.
Hello everyone, warm welcome to the business segment on Joy News today with me, Pius Kojobaka. The University of Ghana Business School Innovation and Incubation Hub has received funding from RISA UK aid organization to help bridge the research and innovation assimilation gap through capacity building in rural Ghana. Speaking to Joy Business at the event, manager of the UGBS Innovation and Incubation Hub, Oliver Agri, highlighted the benefits of the program to rural Ghanaians.
The University of Ghana Business School Innovation and Incubation Hub had begun training researchers and innovators on how to co-create manuals that will aid them bridge the research innovation industry assimilation gap through technology capacity building in some 6 rural areas. Speaking to Joy Business, Hub manager for the University of Ghana Business School Innovation and Incubation Hub, Oliver Agri, highlighted the benefits of the innovation to rural communities.
With 6 different innovations that are resident in the University of Ghana. So we are doing trainings in Takrady. We are training folks on yogurt production. We are doing trainings in Cape Coast for fruit producers. We are doing trainings in Atimpoku for fish farmers. We are doing trainings in Doma for poultry farmers. We are doing trainings in Techiman for tomato farmers. And all this is to also help instill some innovations in the production processes of rural enterprises. A lot of the time when these initiatives come, they are for urban folks that are already trying to build their businesses.
On his part, Gameli Ajaho with RISA Fund, a UK aid organization, explains to Joy Business why they funded the project.
RISA Fund, we find it very exciting because this ties in with one of the country priorities of Ghana, which has to do with taking innovation and research outside our main cities of Accra and Kumasi, and also involving people who are usually excluded from the innovation process to also contribute. We think that this project has tremendous potential to impact the countries in several ways, including helping us to advance enterprise in rural communities, which will ultimately help to help the country drive towards its development objectives.
Some of the researchers and innovators have been sharing their thoughts about the initiative.
This program is a very good one. It's one that is actually going to help, create jobs. It's going to give people the needed, hands-on skills. So I really like, what they've started, trying to know the needs of the various areas so that they don't do something that will not really benefit the people. So I think it's something that is really going to empower the youth, women in this country.
And I think this is a very good step that from their researches, it is coming down right to the intended people for which the research is done. So as part of the engagement we have with the intended beneficiaries, they express so much joy and they are in readiness for the training.
Now, the British Council says its Alumni UK networking is targeted at promoting trade between Ghana and the United Kingdom. According to the Director of Programs and Partnerships, Solomon Awuntumi, his outfit will continue to devise various strategies to leverage other opportunities presented to support its members in their quest to bridge the unemployment gap. He spoke to Joy Business at a cocktail.
The Alumni UK promotes trade for both countries in the sense that we have a lot of young artists in the area of arts and culture. So once they're able to develop their movies, they're able to, as it were, team up with their colleagues in UK to give them the platform to be able to, the bigger stage, to be able to, as it were, do business within the arts and culture sector, within the area of clothing. Those are all beats. So they are all areas that youth are able to do business within the UK counterparts. And so that is one of the areas that we are promoting through this Alumni UK in country. Yes, yeah, so we think that there's a lot to achieve because education is the key to development. For all of these alumni who are in country, we think that tapping into their experiences will help us first to be able to improve upon the number of students who leave Ghana to study in UK. The second thing is that there's more to the UK-Ghana partnership in the area of business, in the area of commerce, arts and culture. So we think that if we're able to tap into their expertise, we can be able to promote arts and culture, we can be able to promote tourism, we can be able to promote businesses.
And that's it for business for now. I am Pius Kojobaka. Darryl Kwao will be here at 1 p.m. with the marketplace. Sports is next.
Time now for sports, and wife of late Black Stars player Mary Carrier Rupio broke down when she took to the podium to read tributes in memory of her husband Christian Atsu. Christian Atsu met his untimely death in the Turkey earthquake last month. The incident claimed thousands of lives. Today in Accra, family and friends gathered at the forecourt of the State House for his final funeral rites and burial. Listen to his wife.
Sorry. Later in the morning that God is going to call you home. In life I love. Sorry.
Lying before me today is the mortal remain of a beloved father and husband. I knew later that morning that God is going to call you home. In life, I love you, darling. In death, I do the same. It breaks my heart to lose you. You did not go alone, for part of me went with you. Your love is still my guide, and though I cannot see you, you are always on my side. You were always so full of life. You seem to be immortal. Sorry. Your smile, your love, I see in our children's smile. You are never really gone, as part of you is within them. You are loved beyond words and missed beyond measure. But as you always say, God wins. In love, your wife.
Good afternoon, welcome to Showbiz here on JoyNews today. Now, the CEO of Links Entertainment, Richie Mensah, has dismissed rumors that musician Kiddy is suffering from a stroke. The rumors went live when the Touch It hitmaker cancelled his North American tour, which was expected to come off this month. The artist was expected to tour about 10 cities in the U.S., including Seattle, Dallas, New York, Los Angeles, Boston, Chicago, and Atlanta. In Canada, he was booked to perform in Toronto, announcing to his fans why the tour was cancelled. About a week ago, Kiddy noted that the decision was due to some health issues, but he didn't elaborate. The post, however, seemed to have given validation to rumors that he was dealing with stroke. However, Richie Mensah, in a post on Twitter, did not only dismiss the rumors, but also urged fans to pay no attention to such claims. On that note, we end Showbiz here on JoyNews today. There's more Showbiz news in our subsequent bulletins. The news continues.
Now.
And as I wrap up the bulletin this afternoon, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. So enjoy the rest of our programs.